back to Design Basics. Today I thought I would show you how to make this little flower right here. This is the Stampin' Success. This is the magazine that Stampin' Up! Sends all demonstrators once a month. So what I want to focus on is how to make this little flower right here. And we're going to make that out of punches. So let me show you those. We're going to use the 1 3/4 inch punch, the 1 3/8 inch punch, and the 1 inch punch. Now, these are the 3 punches that Stampin' Up! Called for, but I decided that I wanted to incorporate also the 1 1/4 inch punch so that I would have more layers to the card. So the pieces of paper that I'm going to use, though, I'm going to go back to this Shades of Spring designer paper that's in the Occasions mini catalog, because I wanted to show you how I chose my colors for my card. If you look at the designer paper, my favorite thing about it is that it dictates the colors that you can use to create your projects. So what I decided was I was going to use this polka dot paper, and this has a vanilla background. Let me show you that. Here's my card, 3 by 3 again, remember. And what I did was I cut that square out of the polka dot paper into a 2 3/4 inch square. And I went ahead and stamped my greeting down at the bottom. This is from the little stamp set called Thank You Kindly. And this actually, you can choose the stamp set for free with a celebration order. So there's my card base. And then I took my designer paper for my cues of my colors. So what I chose to use was, based on this designer paper, was the So Saffron and the Pretty in Pink that's in this designer paper. So what I did was I went ahead and punched out my circles, and I'm going to show you how to make the flowers. They're going to look like this. Here's the 1 3/4 inch circle. This is the 1 3/8 inch circle, and now this is the 1 1/4 inch, and then here's one that's in a 1 inch out of So Saffron. These are all 3 of these are Pretty in Pink. So I'm going to show you how to make these little flowers with the cuts in them. What I like to do is I like to start on one side. I found that if I started on one side and went around, I slowly began to have an angle on my flowers. But if I cut all 4 sides, if I cut in on all 4 sides, I found that I was less likely to do that. Cut this one a little bit deeper. Now, just to keep from having that angle and to make them a little bit more evenly spaced, then I can cut that in half, and then cut these in half, and then in half again, each one of them. So it's just cutting everything in half. So there's a quarter of the circle. So I'll show you that again. If I have a quarter, then I can cut it in half, then cut each one of those in half, and then one more time. And really, you don't have to do it this way. You could, just as long as you have these little slits, and it doesn't even matter if they're all the same width. So there you go. There's all your little slits. And now you can take a sponge or a sponge dauber. I just used a sponge because it was handy. Pick up some ink, hold it on there for a second, hold whatever it is that you're going to sponge, hold with your hand, and then draw the sponge across the edge of it. That keeps it a little bit more rigid. This is pink on pink, just gives it a little bit more depth. This is probably hard for you to see, the change in color, but you can click on the image of the final card, and hopefully you'll be able to see that a little bit better. So there it is, before I'll show you the back side of one of these. So there it is without the sponging, and there it is with the sponging. See how it just makes it stand out a little bit more? Gives it a little bit more depth. Okay, set that aside. The other thing we want to do to these is we want to take our bone folder and we want to curl the ends. Oops, I just pulled one of my petals off. No big deal. Because these are so just close down here to the end attached, I can actually pull them apart, and I think I might even like that better because that's going to give me a little bit more spacing. Interesting. I like that. A little bit different look of a flower. Okay, I'm going to do the same with each of these. Okay, and then this one. You could, if you don't have a bone folder, you could use a pencil, you could use a pair of scissors. Just be a little bit more careful because these would be sharper, just like that. Or you could roll it around. It's just something to roll across. You can even do it with your fingernail, just like that. Okay, so there's all 3 layers, and I did that to this So Saffron one already. So let's use some regular adhesive. I'm just going to put a little bit in the center of each of these layers. And then finally the So Saffron. Just like that. And then go back through and pull up your petals a little bit, and then I'll make it look a little more like a flower. Now in the original one it had a button in the center, which I thought was really cute. Okay, but I thought that maybe that we would use one of these Pretty in Pink epoxy brads that's in the Occasions mini catalog. So cute. And I'm going to use my Crocodile to punch the hole. And if you have a hard time seeing through the Crocodile, take a marker or a pencil. It doesn't matter because you won't be able to see it. Mark where it goes, and then go in with your Crocodile. And I've got a piece of paper stuck in mine. I'm going to use I use this paper piercing tool for everything. There we go. It's just a little piece of paper hanging on in there. Then you can look through that hole. See if I can just see. I don't know if you can see that black dot in there. And then you can punch to get exactly where you want it to be. Okay, then put your brad in. I love these little brads. Open up the back, just like that. And then we're going to put some dimensionals. I think I'll put 2 just right side by side on that to go on our card. But before I put my flower on, I wanted to show you how I created the leaves. This is a piece of Certainly Celery, also from the same Designer Series pack. And I'm going to take one of my punches. It doesn't really matter which one because you could have different size leaves, but this is the 1 3/8 inch, and that's how I created this one. If you'll put your punch in and just punch a circle out of your designer paper, you can put it back in and see this side over here. It still gives me that same shape on both sides. Just punch again and you have a cute little leaf. Isn't that fun? So let's assemble our card. I'm going to put my designer paper on nice and straight with an even border. And then I'm going to put my leaves on, but I think I'm going to wait until after I stick my flower on so that I can see exactly where I want to place those. Flower in the middle. And then I'm going to take my larger of the 2 leaves. It was done with the same punch, it's just punched more of it out. This way I can slide it up under and see exactly where I'm putting it. And then the same with the smaller. Looks cute. And now the only thing I want to do is I want to go back and ruffle up my petals on my flower just a bit. It just gives it more depth and dimension. And I like it when they're not all exactly the same height. So there you go. A cute little note of thanks, a little thanks card. That would be so cute to send. And now you know how to make these cute little flowers, and I hope you guys try it out, and I will see you next time. Thanks for joining me.